Hello guys, and welcome to another geography episode. Today we're going to have a look at Mapwork. Now Mapwork is your second paper that you're going to write during your final exam. And in order to answer a Mapwork question, you need to take the knowledge that you've gained from your theory paper and theory content and base it on the map that we're going to use. Now Mapwork is a practical section. You're going to receive two maps, an orthophoto map and a topographical map to answer your question paper. And you need a couple of skills and techniques to be able to answer this question paper. Now, if you look at the question paper, it consists of Mapwork calculations. In order to do these calculations, you're going to need the following: a calculator, a ruler, and a protractor, or else you won't be able to do your calculations. Now what we're going to do with this question paper is we're going to reading, interpretation and analysis what you've learned in theory on the specific map. And lastly, we're going to look at GIS, Geographical Information System. If you look at maps, it basically tells us a story about a place. It's like the site and situation. Why did people choose to settle there? Because of certain factors that plays a role. Now, a lot of information and clues you can get from the type of map that we use. If we look at this map over here, the map that we're going to use today is the pole map. So on your top left hand side corner, you got the name of the map that we're going to use. If we look at the second information that we can gain from the map, if we look at the latitude and longitude, it shows you that it's situated in South Africa. Now keep in mind, you will only receive a map that's based in South Africa. And when we look at the latitudinal and longitudinal position, it will always be south of the equator. Our latitude position will always be south. And I'll show you now on the map where you can get this information. The 33 degrees 37 minutes indicate your latitudinal position, and the 18 degrees 47 minutes indicate your longitudinal position. 33 degrees, the latitudinal position, 18 degrees, your longitudinal position. If we continue looking at some clues, information is also provided. For instance, the magnetic declination information. You're going to need this information to be able to calculate magnetic declination, and we will discuss this in the next episode. And then there's a scale on the map. That's a 1 to 50,000 on the topographical map, and a 1 to 10,000 on orthophoto map. And there's contour intervals that shows us the height on the actual map. If we quickly go back to the map where we can get this information from, there's the magnetic declination. Now in the next couple of episodes we're going to calculate the present magnetic declination, and this is the set of information that you're going to use. If you continue on the bottom of your map, you will find the contour interval that tells you it's 20 meters. But very importantly, you can actually see it on the contour lines on your map. You can see the interval is 20 meters on your contour lines. Now what is the contour lines? It's all these brown lines. It represents altitude, height above sea level. It shows you the height above the sea levels, and the interval is 20 meters. Now if you look at the bottom of the map, there's a diagram showing the map reference. It shows you additional information such as oceans and borders if they are situated close to it. Now very importantly, take notice where there's roads and railways that goes off the map. It can give you a clue to the nearest town or city. For instance, if you look at the pole map down on the bottom of grid H2, there's a road leading to Cape Town, and it shows it's 60 kilometers away. There's also a national road in red showing Cape Town is 57 kilometers away. And if you look at this road over here, shows you it's close to Franschhoek, a small town just on the outskirts of Paarl. If you look over here, there you can see the main road, road 301, all the way to Franschhoek, and it indicates that Franschhoek is 25 kilometers away. If we go back to our notes, now very importantly, on your bottom of your map, you will find keys and a reference list to identify certain features. Now, it's basically pictures to show you what's happening on that exact spot on your topographical map. Now, on the bottom of your map, this is where you can find these keys and references. On the one side, the reference is in English, and on the other side is in Afrikaans. But as you can see, the keys that's being used for references. For example, if you want to know what a power line looks like, there's the image for a power line. To represent a post office will be the key being used for a post office. That's the key for police stations. And that's a store. It's a W. It means a winkel in Afrikaans. It's like a shop. Now, what we can also pick up from the map, we can determine if it's a high or low rainfall area, or is the rainfall seasonal. Now, a high rainfall area is an area that receives a lot of rainfall. Low rainfall, not a lot of rain. It's quite an arid area. If it's seasonal, it only receives summer rainfall or winter rainfall. Now, with what we've learned in our theory during climatology, we can establish where Paarl is. Now, if you look at Paarl, your first clue comes at the bottom of your map that shows that Cape Town is 57 kilometers away. What do we know immediately? That Paarl is based in the Western Cape. And when do the Western Cape receives most of the rainfall? Usually during winter months. And another tip or clue, if you look at the map of Paarl, you will see that there's many dams situated in the Paarl area. The reason why there's so many dams, because they use it for irrigation purposes, and because they only receive seasonal rainfall, so they need to store their water for farming activities. Now, if you continue looking at the notes, if you look at the areas that's situated over there, let's continue with the rivers. Is there any rivers visible? Now, you've learned about the different rivers. You've got permanent rivers and non-perennial rivers. Non-perennial rivers usually flow only during seasonal rainfall. Perennial rivers will flow right throughout the year. Now, it's very easy to be able to determine the different types of rivers. If we quickly look at this slide over here with our references, as you can see, there's a perennial river. A perennial river flows right throughout the year. A non-perennial river is usually seasonal rainfall. So that's another clue to tell you how much rainfall the area of Paarl receives. If we go back to the information that we can find on the map, Identify the urban and rural areas. Now, as you know, urban areas like towns, cities, or conurbations. Rural areas is like isolated farmsteads, hamlets, or villages. Now, if you look at our map, and we zoom in, immediately the town of Paarl, you can see the street patterns over there. You can see churches situated over there. There's schools represented by the S. If you look over there, there's a station. So that's definitely the town of Paarl. That's an urban area. And if you look at the surrounding areas of Paarl, you can see lots of cultivated land situated around the town of Paarl. So we can really make the assumption that Paarl is a central place town. It provides services to the surrounding rural area. If we go back to our notes, identify the different land uses. Now, we have already looked at that. Most of the land being used in the area of Paarl is agricultural. It's vineyards over there. The industrial and the build-up areas is close to the CBD. Now, what factors may affect the location of the various land uses? For example, the industries alongside the perennial river. Paarl is a beautiful example of this. If we quickly zoom in, as you can see, there's many of the industries situated over there in the town of Paarl next to the Berg River. Beautiful example situated in Paarl. If we continue, we have some characteristics. Identify the type of farming, commercial farming or subsistence farming. Now, we looked at commercial farming during economic geography, and commercial farming is to make a profit. So usually the land size, the farm size is going to be extremely big. Now, if you look at your map of Paarl, you can see that there's a lot of commercial farming taking place in the area surrounding Paarl. And you can see the farm borders over there with the row of trees that acts as windbreakers. Now, very importantly, to be able to look at the relief, how steep or gentle the slopes are, we look at the contour lines. Like I've mentioned, contour lines represents altitude. It's lines joining places with equal altitude, and the contour interval is 20 meters. Now, there's another set of information. If we look at the orthophoto, you will also receive the orthophoto. The scale of the orthophoto is 1 to 10,000. If we quickly look at the orthophoto that's been given to you, it's an image. It's a vertical aerial photograph, bird's eye view. Now, as you can see, there's the scale of the orthophoto, 1 to 10,000. It means reduced 10,000 times. And if you continue looking at now the rectangle drawn around the covered area by the orthophoto, I'll show you it now. That's where the orthophoto has been taken. If you quickly have a look on your topographical map, the orthophoto that I just showed you before, the black and white orthophoto of a scale to 1 to 10,000, is basically this area where the photograph has been taken, as you can see. Now, very importantly, the scale of the orthophoto is 1 to 10,000. The scale of the topographical map is 1 to 50,000. Orthophoto has been reduced 10,000 times, and the topographical map 50,000 times. So the orthophoto is 5 times bigger than the topographical map. Very importantly, when you get your question paper, read the instructions carefully, because not only are you going to use the topographical map, but you're going to use the orthophoto as well. Now, very importantly, an orthophoto is a very special type of photo because it gives us information. It shows us road names and heights. And when we talk about heights, there's contour lines on it, as well as trig stations, trig beacons, as well as spot heights and benchmarks. After the break, we're going to continue with some basic Mapwork concepts. Please stay tuned. See you in a bit.